Hey, welcome to episode 2 of Post Pro. I'm Kevin Kubota, and if you remember last week, if you were with us, we did some really basic but essential adjustments in Lightroom, applying presets, having a default preset that you can apply to every image automatically, right off the start. And now we're going to go one step further, and we're going to take our images in Lightroom because, remember, you're in control. I'm the boss of my images. I'm the one who controls the look, the feel, everything. This is how you adjust in Lightroom and get a beautiful image like this. It's my wife. Yes, dear. Uh-huh. Yeah. No, I'll be home for dinner. What? Yes. What? Uh-huh. Yeah, I can pick that up for you. I know. No, the spa is very important. Go ahead. Yes, you go. Go to the spa. Yeah, no, that's fine. Another pair of shoes? Sure. Yeah, whatever makes you happy, hon. Okay. Yep, I'll pick up the kids. Uh-huh. We don't have a dog. We're going to get a dog. Okay, that's fine. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep, I got... Nope. I'm not trying to get rid of you. I love you, and I will... Yes, dear. Okay. Dry cleaning. Got it. All right. Have fun at the... Okay. Let's get this image done because you, me, we're the boss. So this image here, we're going to take it one step further than just your basic image. So here's the finished image. Well, what does the original image look like? Well, you can click on Reset, the Reset button down here, and that will take it back to the original. So this is straight out of the camera now, right? So we got this image from the camera. It's a cool image, but it needs some flair. It needs twilight. It needs something. Let me tell you a little bit about this image, though. I think it's a cool shot. We got this really beautiful model, and we styled her up really kind of cool, kind of steampunk vintage, whatever you want to call it. And the key thing when I shot this is I used flash, a very soft diffusion panel, a large photoflex panel that I fired a flash through the panel, and there's another flash you can see on the train tracks behind her to put this little rim of light on her shoulder, kind of separate her from the background. And one of the key things to making this shot work is we shot this in full daylight. And you'll notice that the background is very blurred out. So I used a 50mm 1.4 lens shot at f1.4. Well, if you're an experienced photographer, you know you can't shoot in full sun at f1.4 and sync with a studio flash system. So what you need to do, and what I did here is I put a neutral density filter over the lens to drop down my ambient exposure to 1/250th of a second or 1/200th of a second so I could sync my studio flash outside and still shoot wide open f1.4 to get that cool soft background. And that was kind of the look that I thought was going to work for this image. So that was what happened behind the camera before we got into Lightroom. Now we got to add that little flair to the image to make it have that look, that personality that I want. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to crop the image. I want to get rid of the little light that's down there on the train tracks, and there's a wee little bit of my reflector in the corner up there, and this light pole is distracting to me. I want to focus really just on her. So R, if you're a pirate, just say R for crop, matey. And your crop box comes up, and you'll notice immediately that it is divided into 9 squares. This is your rule of thirds. Remember that from photo school? Unless you're like me and you never went to photo school and you just learned this from your dog, then I figured out later on that the rule of thirds was a very important cropping compositional method. And fortunately, Lightroom understands that, and it has the rule of thirds applied to your crop box. So as you move this crop box around, you can see, you can use that as a guide. So if I put that intersection of those thirds right here near her face, okay, pull that down a little bit, it helps to give me a nice crop. And I'm going to pull it in just so I eliminate the pole on the side. I've got her face now right at the intersection of the thirds. Gives me a nice composition. I have the train tracks leading line behind there coming in from the horizon into her, draws your eye to her body. And I've kept all the important elements, got rid of the distracting elements. Now we're ready to enhance. So I hit enter to set my crop. Now, I've got some presets. Now I do have Lightroom presets if you guys are interested in. There's a Vintage Delish preset package, and I'm going to show you one of these presets, and then we'll dissect it, and I'll show you exactly how this cool look called Twilight was created. So first of all, I'm just going to pull that preset off of my list of presets here, and here's one called Twilight. Now you'll notice if you have presets in Lightroom, as you roll over them, this is one of the coolest things about Lightroom, you can try all the different looks, and it shows you an immediate live preview right here as you roll up and down, and you can make your mouse go really fast. It's like lightning, storms, thunders, and all that. So Twilight, click on it. Ooh, I like that look. It's not perfect yet, but it's got me really close. So let's take a look at Twilight. And if you guys want to write some numbers down and things like that, 8675309, write that one down. No, not that number. Write down these numbers here in Lightroom here. I clicked on Twilight. It loaded in everything that I created to create this look. So first thing you'll notice here in the presence section, the clarity is at 0, but the vibrance is way up, and my saturation is down. So you might think, counterintuitive, dude. Why would I drop the saturation and then push the vibrance up? Because they're both intended to enhance the color. Well, the saturation down gives it this old faded look, but the vibrance up enhances certain tones, but not the skin. So the skin tone stays soft and kind of pastel-y, while the blues and everything else become kind of still vibrant. So it's kind of an interesting way to use two opposing tools to give yourself a really cool look. So try that out, experiment with that. Drop your saturation. In this case, I've got it at -59 and my vibrance at +49. You can see it right here on the screen. Next thing I did was I created a strong contrast curve, and you can just pick the strong contrast preset right here. I want it a little crispier, a little richer, a little punchier. And then here's some really key things, and this gets kind of complicated, so you can look at the screen here if you want to try and emulate these settings. If you look under the HSL section, this is hue, saturation, and lightness or luminance. I have taken my hues and messed them all up. That's right, we messed them all up. And you can see here I've bumped the orange and the yellow hues and shifted them. Here are the numbers here, +41, +13, orange and yellow, -100 on the green, and -54 on magenta. Now you don't have to use these exact same settings. What I want you to do is to experiment. Now that you know, you can go into each individual color component and tweak it. The sky's the limit. But this is how I created Twilight, okay? So hues, shifted them like this. Saturation, I upped the saturation in the red and the orange, a little bit on the yellow, and down on the green, okay? Looking right here on your screen. And the luminance, this is the brightness of these individual colors. I've pushed up the red and orange luminance, which are basically skin tones. We kind of brighten skin tones to make them more ghostly looking. Ooh. And then I've taken down the green and the blue, a little bit on the aqua, so those, like the sky, will become darker and a little more dramatic, all right? So those three in combination really create the look of this Twilight. Very interesting color combination, and it looks great on some images, and on others it looks like crap. So you can't use it on every single one, but on certain images it looks dynamite. So check it out. And you'll notice one other thing I did do here, split tone. This has an interesting split tone. If you look here on your screen, I've taken my highlights and added a little bit of this cream kind of color to it, okay? Kind of a creamy orangey red. The numbers here is hue 3 degrees, saturation 19%. And I've added blue to the shadows, okay? Hue 197, saturation of 32. So what that does is adds additional warming to the highlights, which is over her face, and additional blue toning to the shadows, which is everywhere else. That's why it works really well on images like this where there's skin tone and sky. It makes it very vampire-y looking, dramatic. Ooh, getting chills. Ouch. Settle down, settle down.
Relax, calm down now. Don't stress. Take it easy.
I'm taking it easy. That's looking pretty good, right? But it's not right on her face. There are a couple of things we want to do. So I'm going to go to my develop mode, if you're not there already, D for develop mode. And in my favorite tool, remember last week's episode, what's Kevin's favorite tool? Adjustment brush. That shortcut is K for Kevin. Okay, so I type K on my keyboard, brings me to my adjustment brush, and I'm going to use my fill flash and paint on her face, just a wee little bit. Okay, so I have soft edges on my brush, which is the feather slider here. Flow down low, 16 to 20 or so, density all the way up, and I'm going to just paint a couple little dabs across the shadow side of her face, a little on the bright side of her face. Again, my second monitor I use for judging the accuracy of the color. And then I'm also going to take my fill flash, you can zoom in a little bit here, and I'm going to paint in her eyes to brighten up inside of her eyes. Okay? Did you ever think about using that fill flash to lighten the eyes? This is a portrait retouching technique that we typically do in Photoshop, but you can easily do it in Lightroom as well. So I'm just going to dab right into the inside of her eyes with my fill flash to brighten them up, lighten them up a little bit. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add another adjustment. Click on the new button here. A new adjustment, and this adjustment is going to be saturation. Crank that way up, and I'm going to do saturation into her color of her eyes. Okay, so right here I'm going to paint saturation to just further saturate the colors of her eyes. I don't know if you can see it on your screen or not, but that's boosting that color a little bit. And I'll do one more new adjustment. Use fill flash again. And two more dabs, just this time into the actual colored section of the eye. Okay, so there's a before and after. Before and after. Okay, next thing we want to do is there's a couple little blemishes, and we can get rid of those right here in Lightroom. So I'm going to use my spot removal tool right there. And spot removal tool is similar to the one you're probably familiar with in Photoshop, but it's a little different. And the way I like to use it, you can just click on a spot and hope that it disappears. But as you notice there, if I click and I'm not careful, or if I click and use the automatic, it sometimes will grab an area that's not appropriate to fill it. Command or Control Z to undo. And this time I'm going to manually grab my spot and click and hold and drag the circle to the good skin that I want. That way I get a perfect match. So it's a little better way to work with that spot removal tool. Manually drag it where you need it. Okay? So I'm just going to take a couple little spots off here. No big deal. She's got lovely skin. Much better than I had at her age. Damn. Pretty girls. Make me shake. All right. Looking pretty good. Now, here's one more trick. I want to soften her skin. Now we can go into Photoshop, and I'm going to show you in some later upcoming episodes how to do some cool stuff in Photoshop. Make people look like models. You can make me look like Bo Derek. Or we can just take it right here and just soften her skin just a wee little bit. So here's another cool tool you can use. Use your brush again, K, shortcut K. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to soften her skin. Just like I said, I'm going to do it. So the settings we're going to use, I'll click on New to create a new adjustment point. And I'm going to drop down my contrast, my clarity all the way down, my sharpness all the way down. The contrast will be -44 or so. Okay. And the color, you don't want to use any color for this. Make sure the color saturation is down to 0. And then you can take your brush and start to paint. And what I'm basically going to do is just paint over her skin. And it builds up slowly because I've got my flow at 16, so it's pretty low. So it builds slowly, so the more you paint, the softer her skin will start to be. So experiment a little bit. A little bit here, a little bit there. And if you want to see exactly where you painted, just hover your mouse over the little control point there, and you'll see in red now the sections where you painted. And I can see I need to paint a little more on this side of her cheeky. So basically what I'm doing is just softening the pores in her skin. Okay, so you can do this in Photoshop. There are plugins that you can use to do this skin softening, but why not do it right here in Lightroom? Since we're here, we're ready, we got it, and this is very easy to do. Okay? If you want it to happen quicker, just set your flow up higher, 50 to 70 or something like that, and then as you paint you can see it happens very quickly. This softening her cheek tremendously, actually more than I want. See how that happened there? So Command Z, and this is why I use a lower flow, so it builds up gradually and much more naturally. All right? Okay. So now our skin's looking nice, looking kind of porcelain looking, beautiful. I didn't have to go into Photoshop. You want to do a little bit under the eyes there, and polish that off, and now we're looking good. Okay, those control points you can hide with H key on your keyboard, and we'll go back to fill it to the view, and we're all set. Now, we've got a beautiful image here. What we did basically was we tweaked primarily, if you remember here now, on the color adjustments. So we took the components of the color and messed them all up. And that's the great thing about this. Remember, you're in control, I'm in control. We can do whatever we want, mess with those colors, come up with something cool. And when you find a preset or an adjustment you like, don't forget to save it. Make your own preset. So as we did before in our last episode, we're gonna make a preset, clicking the plus button. Say you want to call this your twilight preset. Okay, call it twilight 2 because I already have a twilight. And which settings do you want to save? You want to save only the settings that you use to create this look. And this is important. This is different from the defaults we did in our first episode where I saved almost everything. Now I'm only going to save certain things that created this particular look. And that's really important. A lot of people get messed up with their presets because they save too many things and it overwrites something you thought you already had done, and then it changes it and you're like, I'm messed up, I'm crazy. Then you got to relax and you squeeze things. So what I'm going to do here is turn off everything. Start with check none and turn on only the things that created the twilight look, which was the color treatment, the tone curve, the clarity, the split toning. Remember that, guys? All right. Everything else I didn't touch. So that's my twilight look right there. Okay. I did actually add post-crop vignetting, so I'll check that off right there. And now I hit create. So only those settings that created this look get saved, and now it's a preset that I can apply to any other image in the future. All right. So cool looks, all in Lightroom. Tune in next week where I'm going to work on this particular wedding image here, and now we're going to talk about a little more advanced tools in Lightroom, how to fix problems with your lenses, problems with distortion, and another cool effect you can apply right there in Lightroom. So I'll see you next week. Same time, same Post Pro channel.